We often consume foods that trigger instant dopamine hits to feel more alive and energized, while at a microscopic level, some of the molecules from what we're chewing are actively destroying the physical architecture of our brain. Here are the worst foods for your focus. 1. French fries. Your brain is under inflammatory attack, and the process begins the moment those potatoes hit the hot oil. Regular consumption of French fries is closely linked to a 12% increased risk of depression and a 7% increased risk of anxiety, and those are not random guesses. They come from a medical analysis of more than 140,000 people. What makes this so strange is how a simple piece of potato can destroy your mental energy. When starchy carbohydrates are submerged in boiling oil at 190 degrees Celsius, an extreme chemical reaction occurs that produces advanced glycation end products, AGEs, along with acrylamide. These toxic compounds do not simply pass through your digestive system and leave. They enter the bloodstream, circulate through your body, and successfully breach the most tightly guarded checkpoint in your entire body, the blood-brain barrier. Once inside the neural tissue, they're recognized as foreign pathogens. Your brain's immune system immediately activates and launches cell-level chemical warfare. This neuroinflammation is what literally slows down the speed of communication between neurons. You lose motivation and experience severe mental fatigue, not because you are lazy, but because your brain is draining every last bit of its energy trying to extinguish the inflammation you fed it. 2. Donuts. There is a particularly cruel biological illusion built into a donut. It delivers a burst of false energy, only to completely strip away your ability to focus roughly 45 minutes later. A donut is a masterpiece of industrial engineering, combining pure refined carbohydrates with saturated fat, a lethal combination that never evolved anywhere in nature. The moment you bite into one, glucose floods your bloodstream within minutes, forcing your pancreas to sound an emergency alarm and release a massive surge of insulin. Here is where the irony sets in. That excess insulin works with extreme aggression, sweeping glucose out of circulation and locking it away inside fat tissue. As a result, your blood sugar crashes far below normal levels. The brain, an organ that is absolutely dependent on a constant, uninterrupted supply of glucose, suddenly goes into a cellular starvation crisis. In this critical state, distress signals are sent out to release the stress hormone cortisol. You become restless, your vision feels blank, and brain fog takes over completely. You cannot concentrate on your work because your primitive brain is in full panic mode, convinced that you are dying. 3. Sugary foods. Pure sugar in candy and sweet foods literally rewires the physical architecture of memory inside your skull. Modern biochemical research shows that a diet high in refined sugar can suppress the production of a vital protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, by as much as 30%. Most people never realize that human memory is not an abstract file floating somewhere in thin air. It is a real physical structure, real, tangible branches connecting nerve cells in a region of the brain called the hippocampus. BDNF is the only biological fertilizer that allows those new memory branches to grow. When you constantly flood your nervous system with sugar and artificial dyes, a storm of oxidative stress tears through the hippocampus, completely freezing BDNF production. Without this protein, neurons lose their ability to adapt and form new connections. This structural failure is what creates memory decline. You are not becoming forgetful because of age, you are becoming forgetful because the memory bridges in your brain are slowly being starved of the essential nutrients they need to connect, rotting away under chronic sugar exposure. 4. Soda. It takes just 10 to 15 minutes for the liquid sugar in a single can of soda to hijack your brain's energy metabolism system, and the damage is not temporary. Unlike solid foods that must first be broken down by stomach acid, the high fructose corn syrup in carbonated drinks shoots straight into the small intestine and is absorbed with zero resistance. This repeated high-velocity fructose assault creates a terrifying phenomenon that neuroscientists are now beginning to call type 3 diabetes. The mechanism destroys silently. Because brain cells are continuously bombarded by extreme glucose spikes, the insulin receptors on the surface of those brain cells become exhausted and eventually stop responding altogether. When the brain becomes insulin resistant, glucose circulating in the bloodstream can no longer enter the nerve cells to be converted into energy molecules. The paradox is devastating. Your brain is surrounded by an ocean of fuel in the bloodstream, yet its cells are literally starving to death because the door is jammed shut. This slow cellular death is what systematically dismantles your intelligence. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe right now so you don't miss more health content like this. Now, let's move on to the foods that are actually good for your focus. 1. Walnuts. Walnuts contain around 2.5 grams of essential fatty acids per ounce, and the fact that their deeply wrinkled surface closely resembles the human brain is not a poetic coincidence. It's an absolute biological clue. The human brain is not a dry bundle of electrical wires. It is an extraordinarily fatty organ. The high-quality plant fats in walnuts are used directly by the body to maintain the flexibility and fluidity of the outer membrane of nerve cells. Think of this cell membrane like the wall of a soap bubble in constant dynamic motion. If it becomes rigid from the buildup of bad fats from processed food, electrical signals and chemical messengers like dopamine can no longer pass smoothly from one cell to the next. The fatty acids in walnuts ensure that membrane stays highly fluid and flexible. This cellular level fluidity is what you directly experience in real life as sharp concentration. Electrical signals flow without resistance, allowing you to lock your focus on a single demanding task for hours at a time without any mental interference. 2. Blueberries. 1 cup of fresh blueberries contains more than 160 milligrams of pure anthocyanins, a naturally occurring protective compound with the rare ability to reverse the clock on human cognitive aging by up to 2.5 years. This is where almost everyone misunderstands fruit. People assume that any antioxidant will eventually make its way to the brain. The reality is, the brain's defense system is the most paranoid security filter in the human body, aggressively rejecting nearly every compound that arrives from the bloodstream. But anthocyanins, the pigment molecules that give blueberries their deep blue color, possess a precise molecular structure that is allowed to cross that security barrier. Once inside the labyrinth of neural tissue, anthocyanins actively hunt down reactive oxygen species, the destructive free radical molecules that every second are trying to tear apart the DNA strands inside your brain cells. By neutralizing these free radicals directly inside the brain's memory command center, blueberries literally halt the rusting of neural tissue. Your memory sharpness is preserved not because you are simply smart, but because you have deployed the right antioxidant forces to guard the archives of your memory from decay. 3. Salmon. 60% of your brain's total mass is composed purely of fat, and nearly 1/5 of all that fat is DHA, a specific type of fatty acid found in massive doses of up to 1.5 grams in a single serving of wild salmon. If you want to see what mental intelligence actually looks like in physical form, you need to look at the microscopic neural insulation called the myelin sheath. The concept is pure electrical engineering. Every nerve fiber inside your skull is tightly wrapped by a myelin sheath, working exactly like the thick rubber casing protecting a high-voltage copper wire. Without that rubber casing, the electrical current leaks and slows to a crawl. The problem is, the human body is extremely poor at producing DHA on its own. When you digest salmon, the body immediately breaks down its fat and transports it upward to rebuild fresh insulation layers. The thicker the myelin coating your nerves, the faster information traffic moves, with potential speed increases of up to 100-fold. The raw computing power of your brain is entirely determined by the quality of the wiring material you supply through what you eat. 4. Avocado. 1 medium-sized avocado delivers around 14 grams of monounsaturated fat that works to transform the entire hydraulic pressure dynamics inside your skull. The human brain accounts for only about 2% of total body weight, yet this relentlessly demanding organ consumes up to 20% of all the oxygen-rich blood pumped by the heart every single second. And here is what almost no one thinks about. High-level cognitive function rests entirely on the elasticity of the microscopic blood vessels that penetrate deep into the core of brain tissue. Oleic acid, the primary fat compound in avocados, works directly on blood vessel walls to lower pressure and ensure that the brain's tiny arteries stay wide open, supple like a brand new rubber hose, and clean of plaque. Unrestricted high-volume blood flow means a continuous flood of glucose fuel pouring into your prefrontal cortex, the region where rational logic and complex problem-solving take place. Your mental stamina for hours of sustained thinking is not a matter of psychological willpower. It is purely a matter of vascular fluid dynamics kept in perfect working order by this simple green fruit. Every single bite you take right now is physically deciding whether you will carve robust memory circuits or poison your own neural tissue towards permanent cognitive decline. See you in the next video.